For this card, you're going to need an 8.5 by 5.5 piece of Whisper White cardstock scored down the center. You're going to need a piece of craft paper or packing paper or a brown piece of fairly thin paper. You could probably even use a grocery sack, and that's cut at 5 inches by 3 3/4 inches. A strip of Pacific Point cardstock, 3 3/4 inches by 1/2 inch. And you will need a piece of white cardstock cut out using the label card Thinlit. You'll also need Pacific Point and Tip Top Taupe Stampin' Pads. The Hey Man stamps from Paper Pumpkin and the Love You a Lot stamps, also from Paper Pumpkin. Some Tombow glue and Stampin' Dimensionals. All right, so fold your white cardstock in half so that you have your card base ready to go. And you will take the Tip Top Taupe and the Dad stamp on an acrylic block, and I'm using B. And you'll begin by stamping Dad across your brown paper, horizontally or vertically, however you want the card to sit. This one we're doing a vertical card. And I like to stamp off the edge to begin with, and then space it from there. And just kind of eyeball it. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I want to offset the next row. So I'm going to line up my D with the A that's already been stamped in the Dad above. And I'll do that on the next row. Okay. Make sure you clean your stamp off. And I'm going to close up the taupe for now. Get your Pacific Point out and your Happy Father's Day from the, I believe it was May 2014 Paper Pumpkin called Hey Man. Take your label cutout that you ran through the Big Shot. And just try and center it as best you can. There we go, looks good. Now you are going to take your Stampin' Sponge And if you don't already have one made, like I do, I've got one right here, you're just gonna take your Stampin' Sponge and cut it into 6 pieces. I cut it in half first, and then in towards the center, like that, and just clip it with a clothespin. All right, and we are going to take the Pacific Point, dab it on our sponge, and flick the edges just to give it a little bit of difference against the background, something to help it stand out a little bit. Okay. All right, and now we're just going to put the card together. So you'll take your sheet of paper that you stamped dad across, and if you want it a little bit more wrinkly, you can scrunch it up a bit. And I definitely suggest doing this before you stamp, or I'm sorry, after you stamp. If you do it before you stamp, it's going to be harder to stamp it with all the wrinkles. But I like the look that it gives it a little bit of a worn, kind of rugged look, a little more manly. Take your Tombow glue, run it along the edges. A little in the middle. And center it on your card front. It's okay if the edges pull up a little bit, they're a little bit rugged looking. You got a few bubbles in there. I actually really like that look on the card. You'll take your Pacific Point strip and a little Tombow glue on the back. Whoops. All right. Well, this is a good use for this if you've messed up anywhere or kind of don't like your spacing, don't like the impression, you can kind of put this over it a little bit to mask anything that you maybe didn't really care for. And I got this dad a little bit crooked and this line a little bit close to each other, so we'll just put it right there. And then for the last piece, you'll take your Stampin' Dimensionals, 2 on the back, and place your Happy Father's Day on top of the Pacific Point. And there you have the completed front, but I'm going to do one last thing to give it a little more character. I'm going to take the Tip Top Taupe and flick the edges of the card. And I just think it brings the card together since you've got this kind of rugged look on the front of it with the craft paper being crinkled. The Whisper White cardstock looks just a little bit too pristine without it. And there you have it, an easy, manly Father's Day card. Could easily be changed into a birthday card if you needed to, or a thank you card for the guy in your life. Thanks for watching.